Hi everyone, I am Nived. So in this video, we are going to do a tutorial on attendance calculation process using queues in RE framework. So before starting this video, I would like to thank Sharath Raju for posting this challenge uh, for helping many RPA beginners to learn UiPath. So thanks Sharath Raju. So we can move on to the description of this challenge. What we have to do here we have an Excel sheet. Two Excel sheets are there. In one Excel sheet we have employees attendance details for 11 days, that indicating the present, indicating P is actually representing present, A represent absent, and there are null values which indicates there is no data about that employee on that particular day. So what is our aim is, we want to take each employee's attendance data. We want to calculate out of 11 days how many days he was absent, how many days he was present, and also if there is any null values. And taking all these values, we want to input into this next sheet corresponding to each employee: total present days, how many total absent days, and also total working days and percentage. For regarding the percentage, we have the calculation I have given here. For calculating the percentage, you can use present days into 100 divided by total working days. And for giving the feedback is given based on the percentage. There are three conditions for that. If percentage is less than 70, it indicates that feedback is average. But if this percentage is between 70 and 85, including the 70 and 85, we can give the feedback as good. But if the percentage is greater than 85, we can give the feedback as excellent. Okay, so this calculation side also I will post in my solution, so that we can easily use it while we are doing automation. And the null value represents actually how many values, like look here, you can see there are some blank columns or blank cells which actually represent null value columns. For each employee, how many null values are there, this is also being should be added. So actually here we are doing this using queues. In our previous tutorial, that is tutorial 3.0, we have done it using data table method. Now we are doing it using queues. So for doing it with queues, normally we have to create two workflows. One is called dispatcher and other is known as performer. For dispatcher, what we have to do, we here in dispatcher we have to take each this excel file, we have to take this excel file and transfers its data to the queue. While the performer, we have to take this queue item, we have to process it, means we have to calculate the how many days for a particular employee he was present, absent, and then we have to transfer into this corresponding employees row. So this is what we have to do here. So I hope you have understood this challenge. I will post this challenge link in my YouTube video description, you can find it there. So let's start with the challenge. So first we have to create a dispatcher workflow which actually transfer the employees attendance details from the data table to the queue. Okay, so first we have to create a dispatcher workflow. For that, click on RE framework and give it a name. Let's say uh, attendance dispatcher, attendance dispatcher, and create it. Okay. Since in the dispatcher side, we are actually transferring our data from the Excel file to the queue. So for that, in the orchestrator side, we have to create queue also. For that, we can go to orchestrator and can create queue here. For that, just you type platform.uipath.com, click on enter, and yeah, since I have already logged in, this login page will appear. Click on this uh, and yeah. Now click on queues. Now create a queue here. So give it a name. Let's say employee. Okay, and you can specify. You can give the description also, if possible, like employees. Let's say employees attendance details. So you can specify the maximum number of retries here. How many times it should retry if it fails due to system exception. Okay, you can specify 2 here. Then add this queue. You can see that the queue is being created and description is being provided here. And let's start doing our dispatcher workflow. Okay, so at first, when we are doing a work using RE framework, first we have to identify what should be the variable type of the transaction item. Okay, so since we know that our main aim in the dispatchers workflow section is we want to transfer each this Excel data to the queue. So we can consider each data row, that is each data row represents each employee's attendance details. You can represent it as a transaction item, means this you can represent it as a transaction item, this you can represent it as a transaction item, like so on. So you can say that your transaction item should be a data row. Okay, so since we know that for RE framework in default it is set as queue item, we have to change it first. So go to queue item and change into data table. For that, just search here as data row. Uh, data, sorry, data row. Okay, system.data row, and click on it. Now you can see the validation appears here. Now you can do this corrections. Okay, just change it here to nothing. Okay, transaction item as nothing. Okay, now here also open the workflow, change the variable type of transaction item as queue as data row. Okay, okay. Now since another validation error appears here, since we know that in the dispatcher workflow we are transferring the data from this Excel file to the queue, we don't require this get transaction item activity, as it is used to retrieve the queue items from the queue. So we can just disable it using right clicking on it and click on disable activity, or you can use Ctrl plus D also. So just disable it and now save it, close the workflow. If you look here, you can see it is missing. So just type transaction item here. Okay, click on OK. Now go here and just type it again. Transaction item as nothing. Okay, so now I think in the get transaction data state all the validation error has been removed. Now we have to go to process transaction state. Process transaction state also, just open the process XML file and then change the variable type of transaction item to data row. Let's say here as data row. Okay, save it, close the workflow, and then over here add here as transaction item. Okay, now just go here. Just open this get set transaction status. There also change the variable type of argument type of transaction item as data row. Okay, now We can see, yeah, the validation error appears here. Try to change it. Since we know that this section or this sequence is this is required when transaction item is a queue item. Actually our transaction item is not a queue item, so we can disable it. It is not required. Okay, so save it and go back and do it for business exception and system exception as well. Same thing, disable it here also. Okay, so just save it and go to system exception, do disabling this activity or this section, disable activity, and now disable this also, since it is used when the transaction item is a queue item. Okay, so I think we have removed all the validation error here. So if you check the import argument, yeah, it's okay now. Okay, so save it and so I think we have removed all the validation error in the process transaction state also. So we have completed the first step while doing the RE framework tutorial uh, when the transaction item is not a queue item. So next is we have to start the process. So here we know that in initialization state nothing has to be added, since it is a dispatcher where we have to transfer the data from the queue, so data from the excel file to the queue, so it is not required that there is no need of opening any applications and so on, so we can skip this initialization stage. So directly we can go to get transaction data state. So in get transaction data state, just open the get transaction data workflow. Okay. So here what we have to do, here we have to assign the transaction item. That is, here our transaction item is each data row, or in other words we can say each employee's attendance detail is our transaction item. You can say here each data row is transaction item. Here this is a transaction item, this is a transaction item, this is a transaction item, and this is a transaction item. So we have to first assign the transaction item in the get get transaction data state. For that we have to use two sequence. First to read this Excel sheet and then converting into and then storing in data table, and from the and second sequence we have to using this data table we have to assign the transaction item. Before that, I am actually transferring this Excel file to my workflow folder itself so that it can be easily accessible. Uh, let's close it, and okay. Uh, now save it. Okay, just open it again. Yeah, fine. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, fine. Okay, so first we have to create two sequences. First, to read the data to read the Excel file and storing its data in the data table, and in second sequence we have to use this data table to assign the transaction item. So before that we have to set the Excel file name and the queue name in the config file. Okay, for that just open the config file, and you have to specify the queue name, because what is the main aim of dispatcher is to transfer the data from the Excel file to the queue item. So queue, so we have to specify the queue name here. So the queue name is just look here, it is employee. Okay, so just give the name here. Okay, and give the Excel file like from which we have to transfer the data to the queue. So that give the path of the Excel file. So give, let's say, Excel file, and here specify the path of the Excel file. Since it is in the same folder of the workflow, just specify its name itself. So okay, so just open it. Its name is employee. Okay, so give it as a name, employee dot xlx, employee dot xls. So give a description. This is the Excel file from which data is transferred to queue. Okay, now save it. Now in the constant section, you have to set the maximum retry number to 2. Since you know that our transaction item is actually a data row. So if it was a queue item, you can set it as 0 itself. Okay. So save it and then close it. Okay. And just go back to workflow. So here in the get transaction data workflow, you have to create two sequences. One is for reading the data table, reading the Excel file and storing it in the data table. Second sequence, we have to use this data table to assign the transaction item based on condition. So for that, we have to use an if condition. That sorry, before that you have to create a sequence. Sorry, sequence. Okay, sequence name is reading the data table. Okay, for that you provide a condition. Let's say first condition, the condition is that when it is a first transaction, that is if the transaction number is 1, means if it is the first transaction, it should read the data table. And we know that it is mostly provided as condition. So we have to provide the condition like this. If the transaction number is 1, means it indicates that if it is the first transaction, we have to read the data table or we have to read the Excel file. For that you can use read range activity from the workbook. So give it a name, let's say read employee data, and you specify the workbook path. Just give it a in workbook path. Since we know that we have stored that the Excel file path in the config file itself, we can specify through the in config dictionary. So give the key name. The key name you can just look it here itself from the Excel config file itself. Yeah, config file, it is Excel file, it is a key name. Okay, so just specify the Excel file. Since the output of this dictionary in config dictionary is an object, you have to convert to string, dot to string. Now you have to specify the sheet name. The sheet name, I think it is data1. So you have to specify it as data1 itself. Okay, data, and the read range you have to specify it as nothing so that it can read the whole. So what we have done here is that we have put a condition such as that if the first transaction is there, if a first transaction is happening, then only we should read the data table. Okay, and we have to store this whatever we have read from this Excel file into a data table. For that you output in this section, you just type the data table name. Already in the RE framework they have provided the data table variable here as in output transaction data. This is the data table they are already provided in the RE framework itself. So we have completed the first sequence, that is reading the data table. So we have provided a condition that if it is a first transaction, we should read the employee data and store it in the data table. Because for other transaction, so in upcoming transaction, there is no need for reading the transaction data again and again. Okay. So in the next sequence, we have to assign the transaction item. For that, drag another sequence here, and you can give assign transaction item. So here, for assign the transaction item also, you have to specify an if condition. What is the if condition? If condition is, if you look at the employee data, you know that there are how many rows? There are around 5 rows of employees data here. So which indicate that if the transaction item, if the transaction number exceeded these rows, that is, if the transaction number exceeded this number of rows in this data table, we can see that there is no data here. For example, this is the first transaction, this is the second transaction, third, fourth, fifth, and if it goes to sixth transaction, we can find that transaction there should be no data here, so which indicate that transaction item is a nothing. So we have to specify the condition in that way. So the condition provided here is uh, in transaction number should be less than or equal to input output transaction data dot rows dot count. So this indicates that if the transaction number is less than the number of rows in the data table, we can assign the transaction item. Okay, so that assigning the if this condition is true, we can assign the transaction item. For that, use assign activity here. So you can specify here it as assign transaction item. So here you have to assign the transaction item. What is the transaction item variable? Out transaction item equal to, just specify here, input output transaction data dot rows or in transaction, you can specify it here as in transaction number minus 1. Okay, so if this condition is not satisfied, means if transaction number become greater than the number of rows in the data table, we can see that there is no data there. No data there. So we can say that the transaction item will be nothing. So which indicates that the process will be end. For that you can assign nothing here. Okay. So assign here it as out transaction item is equal to nothing. Okay. So these are the two sequences we have created in the get transaction data state. That is, the first sequence, it read the data table based on the condition that if the transaction number is 1, means if it is indicating that if it is the first transaction, we are reading the Excel file and storing it in the data table. And in the second sequence, we are assigning the transaction item. Means by based on a condition that if the transaction number is less than the rows of the row count of the data table transaction data, we can assign the transaction item. Otherwise, the transaction item should be assigned as nothing. Hope you have understood this section. So now we can move on to process transaction state, where we have to transfer the data to the transaction item to the queue. Okay, so that is happening in the process transaction state. For that, open the process workflow. So here we have, what we have to do here is just drag a sequence here. So here we want to uh, transfer data to queue. That is what we have to do here. For that, what we can do, we can just use add queue item activity. Okay, For that you have to give some proper names in the property section. So at first, but the queue name you have to specify here. Since you have stored the queue name in the config file itself, just specify it here from here itself. Okay. Okay, since we have stored the queue name in the config file, just specify through in config dictionary. Okay. Since output of this dictionary is an object, you have to convert to string. Okay. Now you have to specify the items which has to be transferred here. So what are the items that we had to transfer to the queue item? We know that we want to transfer all the details, this employee name and the attendance details of each day. So you can specify that here. So yeah. So first, what data you want to transfer is first. Sorry. Uh, First data you want to transfer is name, employee's name. So just specify it as name, and the value is in transaction item. So what is the column index of this name? It is 0th column. So just specify it here. Okay, 0. Since output of this is an object, you have to convert to string. Similarly, do it for next is what data we have to transfer here. Next, we want to transfer day 1 data. So day 1 collection, you just give it as a name day 1, and it is in the first column index. So give it as a name like this. Similarly, day 2, I have to specify day 2. The value is in transaction item. Its column index, I think it is 2. So you can specify 2 dot to string. Similarly, you can do this for up to day 3. So day 11. Okay. So by transaction item, since it is in the same order, I don't need to look what is the column index again and again. Okay. So now similarly day 4. Okay. Also you can look here, but since they are in same order, you can just directly type. That's better. Okay. Put to string. Similarly day 5. Day 5 is in transaction item. Okay. Dot to string. So next day 6. Sorry. Day 6 in transaction item dot 6 dot to string, and day 7 in transaction item 7 dot to string, day 8 in transaction item of 8 string, day 9 just specify here it as in transaction item 9 dot to string, nearly day 10 specify here it as in transaction item, sorry, in transaction item of 10 dot to string, and specify for day 11 as in transaction item of 11 dot to string. Okay, so I think we have type required for all collection cell. 0th index, 1st index, 2, 3. Okay, we have type all the values which has to be transferred to the queue. So okay here. Okay, so I think we have so here what we have done in the process workflow is the transaction item actually has been transferred to queue, the required queue in the orchestrator. That is what we have done here in the process workflow. So just save it. So next process, after first we have completed get transaction data, then we have completed process transaction. Okay, and so after completing this process, we have to go to close all application. Since we know that here it does not contains any application to close, so we can avoid that process. But here we want to kill the process. Since the process involved here is an Excel process, so we want to kill the process. The kill process actually helps to like close the applications uh, before starting the process, so that the automation can run in a very clean state. Also it also helps to forcefully close the application in the case of a system exception, etc., where the close all application cannot work. So just open kill all process and add the kill process activity here. So add kill process activity. Okay, so here we want to kill process, let's say Excel, so give it a name, just a kill process Excel. And here we want to specify the process name. Process name is Excel. Okay, so just save it. Okay, so I think we have completed the dispatcher section. So just I will summarize what we have done in dispatcher section. So in dispatcher section, our main aim is to transfer the data from this employee attendance sheet to the queue item, queue that is named as employee in the orchestrator. So what for that we have actually first assigned the transaction item in the get transaction data by creating two sequences. First, by reading the data table, that is the Excel sheet of employee attendance details, and storing it in the data table. And from in the second sequence, from that data table, we are assigning the transaction data. Okay, that is what we have done in the get transaction data section. In the process transaction, what we have done, we have taken each transaction item and we have transferred that transaction item to the queue. So that is what we have done here. Okay, so next what we have done, we have actually killed the process. So kill the process, we just go to kill all process file workflow, and then since the process involved here is Excel, so we use kill process activity to kill Excel process. Okay, so this is what we have done here. So before running it, since try to check whether your UiPath assistant is connected with uh, uh, orchestrators. Just check it. Yeah, it's connected. Okay, good. Okay, so just close this. And just let me check it again whether there's any error is involved there or not. Okay, just check it again. Okay, so So let's run this dispatcher workflow and see what happens. Yeah, it's running. Yeah, completed. Yeah, you can see here transaction 1 is successful, transaction 2 is successful, 3 is successful, 4, 5. So every data is being successful here. So you can check here in the queue section. So just refresh it. You can just open this view the transaction. You can see that this 5 data employee data is added. So if you just click on view details, yeah, you can see this is the details of employee E05. If you just go here, you can see the data of E01, and you can see data of E0, E002. Similarly here, if you go, you can see data of E003. Okay, actually the status is being as new. Okay, when they're processing, they actually convert it to trans like successful, failed, etc. Okay, that I will tell you later. So so from this we can say that our dispatcher workflow has been run successfully. Okay, so our next step is we want to create a performer workflow. So in performer workflow, what we have to do here is like if you open this queue, uh, you know that these are each queue item, and each queue item contains the attendance details of each employees. So what we have to do here is that we have to retrieve this data from this queue item to our workflow. We have to calculate how many number of present, total number of absent days, and total number of null values, and the percentage and the feedback, and we have to input it into the required Excel sheet that is here. Okay, so yeah, that is what so I will tell you once again. So what we have to do here is that in the like we have created a dispatcher workflow where we have taken all the data from that is all the data of employees attendance details to the queue. So next step is we want to create a perform workflow which actually takes the data from the queue, and each queue item actually contains the employees attendance details. It retrieves the employee's attendance detail from that queue item and will process to know how many number of present days, how many number of absent days, and the null values, and will input into this data to data sheet corresponding to each employees, and also calculate the percentage and feedback that based on the equation that I have told you before starting of the dispatcher workflow. Okay, so I hope what you have understand what you have to do in the performer workflow section. So let's start with that. So for that you have to first create a performer workflow. So just to create a RE framework workflow. Name it as, let's say, attendance, say, performer. Okay, then create it. Okay, yeah, it's created. So whenever we are actually going to do a tutorial on or work on RE framework, first we have to look what is the variable type of the transaction item. Okay, since it is a perform workflow and we know that the performer workflow takes the data from the queue item and take it as a transaction item. So already we know that transaction item should be queue item in the case of perform workflow. Okay, so we don't have to change the variable type here, as that we have changed in the dispatcher. So we can avoid all the steps what we have to do when we are doing the uh, when we have changed the variable type. So we can skip that step. Okay, so so just open. So before starting this, you have to provide the queue name uh, and the Excel file path where actually you are doing your process in this config file. So you can give the queue name here. So your queue name is actually what? Just check that it is employee. Okay, so queue name is actually employee. So you have to give that here. So give the name here. Yeah. Let's say give the name employee. Okay, and next you have to give the Excel file path. Means like you know that the main aim of your perform workflow is you want to retrieve the data from the queue item, you want to process the employees each employee's attendance data, and then you want to input into the request sheet corresponding to each employee. So we want this Excel file path also. For easiness extraction of this Excel file path, you can copy paste this Excel file path in the perform workflow itself. Uh, just close this and copy it, copy it and copy it and paste it in the performer workflow folder. So just paste it here. Yeah, it's been pasted, so you can directly access it. Okay, so now provide the, let's say, name. Let's say here you can provide Excel file. Provide the name of the like Excel file itself, because since this Excel file is within the performer workflow folder, so we don't need to provide the entire path, just provide only the name here. So give a name, let's say employee dot excel x. I hope it is correct. You can check it also. Yeah, it is employee dot xlx. Employee dot xlx. Okay. Now save this section. Now go to constant sheet, and since we know that our transaction item is a queue item, and while making the queue itself or while creating the queue itself, you are actually setting the maximum retry number there. So there is no need for setting the maximum retry number there greater than 0 here in this config file, since we are working with orchestrator queue. If it is not a queue item, if the transaction item is not a queue item, you have to set it greater than 0. Okay, so that the system will try in the case of a system exception. Okay, so there is not much change we have to make here. So just save it and okay, so we have made all the data, we have input all the data that is required in the config file section. So next we can go to each state. Okay, first check the initialization state. As we know that what we are doing here is we are taking the data from the queue and we are inputting the required data into the Excel after performing some calculations. So there is no requirement of opening a application and opening a browser in this automation process. So we can completely avoid the initialization state here. Okay, and if you go to the get transaction data state, you know that already this RE framework is defaultly built for queue items. So already everything is being set up here. Actually using this transaction item activity, we can able to retrieve the transaction, like each queue item from the queue, employee queue, using this get transaction item activity. And also we have specified the queue name also here in config orchestrator queue name dot to string. You can see here this is actually a dictionary format, and we have changed the value here. So already uh, so there is no need to change here too. So we can avoid that step also. So only thing what we have to add here in the process transaction only. So in the process transaction, what we are doing, since we have retrieved the transaction item from the get through the get transaction data state, in the process transaction state, you have to analyze each transaction item. Means each transaction item consists of the employee's attendance details. From that, you have to calculate the number of absent, number of present days, total number of working days, also total number of null value days, and using that you have to calculate percentage, and from percentage you have to analyze the feedback, and you have to input the required data into this employee sheet. That is what we have to do, and this process is being done in the process state. Okay, so just open the process XML file, and here for that we have to create two workflows. So two sequences. So what are the two sequences? First sequence is actually, what does the sequence do? It will actually retrieve the transaction item, and from it will analyze each transaction item is actually each employee's attendance details through, and this and here it will analyze each employee's attendance details, calculate total number of present, total number of absent, total number of null values, and percentage. And next, in the next sequence, what we have to do here is we have to input all these values into that sheet corresponding to each employee's name. So that is what we have to do in the process state. So first we have to create two sequence, and in the sequence we have to do the required operation. So we can start with it. So first go to activity and just drag a sequence. So in this sequence, what we are doing, we are actually analyzing each transaction. We are analyzing transaction item here. Yes, correct the name. Always try to provide a description because it's good. Okay, transaction item here. Okay, analyze transaction item here. So for analyzing the transaction item, uh, before that you have to provide four variables. One, to calculate the total number of working days. One, to analyze, one to store the total number of working days. One, to store the total present data of each employee, and second, to store the absent data of each employee. Third, to store the null value data of each employee. For that you have totally have to create four variables. So for that just click here, uh, create a variable called count. Through this count we can able to calculate how many number of working days, total working days for each employees or each transaction item. It should be a integer type. Next variable, it is created to store the number of present days of each employee out of total working days, and its variable type should be integer. Try to change scope to process itself so that it can be accessed in the next sequence too. Okay, and create another variable called absent to store the total absent details of each employee. Okay, and also create another variable called null value, which is used to store the null value of each employee, total null value. Null value means indicate, like if you look in the data table, um, yeah, if you look in the data table, some data is kept as blank, that actually represent null data. So for each employee you have to calculate how many null data are there. Okay, so null value, so just specify it as integer and change the scope to process. Also you have to create a variable which is used for storing the percentage value. So percentage, and you know that percentage mostly comes in, let's say, decimal format. So you have to store in a decimal format itself, so you can use double. You can just type here as system, the system is slow, system dot double, yeah, system dot double. Okay. Yeah, so we have created the count variable to know the how many number of working days for each employee, and present variable which is used to calculate total number of present days of each employee, absent variable to calculate or to store the total number of absent days of each employee, null value variable which is used to calculate the number of null values of each employee, percentage to calculate the percentage of each employee. Okay, so for count, so why we are using count? To calculate the number of uh, working days of each employee, total working days of each employee. So okay, so we know that if you look here, there are totally 11 working days. Okay, so actually how we can retrieve in general format for each employee? We can just specify count is equal to 11, but we want to get in a general format of each employee through. So how we can get it? So we can look into that. Before that, since you have specified this present, absent and null value variable, so after one transaction is completed, when you go to other transaction, the value should be reset so that it can calculate the present, absent and null value of that transaction item or that employee. So that before so in the starting you have to specify the initial values of present, absent and null value. Okay, so just specify, just use multiple assign activity to specify the uh, present, absent and null values to 0. Specify present value should be equal to 0 and absent to 0 and another value is, let's say, null value should be also equal to 0. So what we are assigning here, initializing present, absent, null values. Okay, that is what we are doing here. Just give it correctly. Okay, initializing present, absent and null values. That is what we are doing here. So after this, what we have to do? We have to specify the count. Through this count, we can get the total number of working days of each employee in a generalized format. Okay, so for that, use assign activity. Sorry, assign activity. Yeah, assign activity and drag it here. Okay, so just specify count here. The value of count. What should be the value of count? That we have to think here. Okay, so we know that employee is actually our queue. So if you go and view the transaction here, okay, actually count means you are actually counting uh, like uh, like this data. How many collections are there? Actually, how many number of collections are there in each transaction or in each queue item? How many transaction? Sorry, in each queue item, how many number of collections are there? That is what actually we are retrieving in the count variable. Okay, and if you reduce minus like by 1, you can get the total number of working days. Okay, so that I will tell you how. So before that, in count variable, what you want to retrieve is actually the number of the number of collections in a queue item. For that, what should be the code? That is so that I just use notepad here. Just tell you. Okay, so the count variable at first, that is what you want to get here is the total number of collections in a queue item. That actually I have to tell you before. So before that, you just give it a name. Let's say initial count. Okay, so we are actually going for an initial count here. Initial count means getting the total number of collections in a queue item. So we know that to retrieve the data, if in the case of from the queue item, in the case when transaction item is a queue item, what is the code you are using? You are using this code like this now. So transaction, this I will specify in a notepad so that you have a better view. Transaction item dot specific content. Then you are specifying the collection name which you want to retrieve. But Actually, if you consider this transaction item dot specific content, it is actually a dictionary, and its element, you can say, how should be its element format? Its element should be in this format. You can see its element should be the collection name and the value. That is a dictionary format of this transaction item dot specific content. So in for better understanding, if you look here, actually name comma E005, it is a one element in the dictionary. Day 1 P, it is another element in the dictionary. Day 2 A, it is another element in the dictionary. Okay, so if you can get the count of the dictionary, of count of how many number of elements are there in the dictionary, then you can get the total number of collections in a queue item. For that, what you have to do here is, in more general way, I can say that in count variable you are actually getting how many transaction item dot specific content is a dictionary. So we are getting the count of dictionary here. From that you can get the number of collections in a queue item. I think you have understood that. So just type it here, in transaction item dot specific content dot count. It actually gives a count of number of elements in the dictionary. Each element actually each element is like this: collection name and value that I have shown earlier. Okay, so it will give the total number of count of collections in the queue item. Since we know that if you take this queue item, you can see that how many collection, what would be the count of the dictionary here. Its count should be 1 2 3 4 up to 12. Since we know that how many days are here, day 11 days, 11 working days are actually there. So if you reduce count by count minus 1, you will get the total number of working days in a generalized format for every employee. If you look here, because by reducing count by 1, you are actually reducing this name actually from that, so that you can get the total number of working days. If you take the case of second employee, let's say if you take this case, okay, you can see there are 12 count here. If you reduce by 1, you can get the total number of working days. It is applicable for each employee. Okay, so just specify the count, so you can get the initial count. Now you have to specify the number of working days. Again drag the count here, assign activity here, and assign, you can give assign working days. So you can specify count, again count here. So here for assigning the working days, you have to specify count is equal to count minus 1. Okay, so that is what we have specified here. So I think so up to this, what we have done here is, we have first created a variable for present, absent, null value, count, as that is count represent total working days and percentage. Then we initialize a present, absent and null value by 0 in the initial starting of the process. So, and also we calculate the total number of working days for that. So next step is, we want to calculate for if you consider each transaction item, you want to calculate the total number of present, absent, null value, and from that you want to calculate the percentage by the equation. Okay, so that is what we have to do in this analyzing transaction system here sequence. Okay, so next step is, you want to calculate the total number of present, absent, null value of each employee. For that you have to use a switch activity, because it has three conditions. So you can use a switch activity here. So for that you have to create a for loop activity. You have to drag a for loop for each activity, so that it can loop through all the elements in the dictionary. Okay, so for, you can write here, for each element in dictionary, or you can say for each element in transaction item. What I mean by dictionary is actually transaction item dot specific content, which is actually dictionary transaction item. Okay, so you can specify the argument type of transaction item as, like, I think as key value, key value pair. Yeah, system dot collection dot generate key value pair. So you have to specify the type of argument of key and type of argument of value. So here we know that our type of argument for key is string, and type of argument of value, it is an object for a transaction item here. Okay, so just click on here, and then we have to specify the variable. What is, since we know that we are actually looping through each element in the dictionary, so just give it a name here for each element in transaction item, or each element in transaction item. So we are actually looping through each element in the dictionary, and we know that what is actually a dictionary? Transaction item dot specific content. It is a dictionary. That so you have to specify here. In transaction item dot specific content. It is actually a dictionary. And now from this dictionary, each item in transaction dot item dot specific content, each item actually represents the element in the dictionary. From the element in the dictionary, what we only want, only the value, not the key. We don't need the key, but we need the value. For retrieving the value from this element, you can use another code there. So before that, you can drag the switch activity here. Switch activity here. So just give it a name. Let's say for calculating total number of present, absent, and null data. So you can change the type argument since we are using a string here. Okay, for that item, to get the value, just use dot item dot value. It will retrieve the value. We know that the value of this dictionary transaction item dot specific content is a object, and you have to convert to string. For that you can use dot to string. Now you have to add three cases. So what three cases? That is three conditions. What are the three cases? First, when the item dot value dot to string is present. We know that in queue item, if you look here, uh, yeah, P represent present, A represent absent, empty represent no details about that working date for that particular employee. So there are three cases. So you have to specify as per that. So first case, when case value is P, that is when item dot value dot to string is P. So what is that condition? What condition you have to do here? If the case value is present, you have to increment the present. Okay, so give here address present is equal to present plus 1. So increment present by 1. Okay, next case. What is the next case? When the case value is absent or A, because we know that for absent it is marked as A. Okay, so just go here and assign the condition. What should be the condition? Condition is increasing absent by 1. For that you have to specify like this: absent is equal to absent plus 1. Okay, now third case. What is the third case? Third case is when case value is empty. So when the case value is empty, what you have to specify, what you have to increment? You have to increment the null value by 1. I have to increment the null value by 1. You can see here null value is equal to null value plus 1. Okay, so I hope you have understood what we have done here. So we are actually looping through each element in the dictionary, that is transaction item dot specific content, and when we are looping through each element in this dictionary, if its value, if this element's value is present, you have to increment the present by one number, that is 1. If it is absent, you have to increment the absent by 1. If it is a null value, you have to increment the null value by 1. Since we have initialized it earlier, before starting of this process, we have initialized it as present as 0, absent as 0, null value as 0. And the output from this switch totally, if you retrieve, means if you actually outside of this loop, what you get is the total number of present, total number of absent, and total number of null value for each employee or for each transaction item. So that is what we are actually going to get as output here. Okay, give it a name for switch also. Let's say calculating total number of present, absent value. Okay, so we are actually getting the output. So after getting the output, you got the total number of present, total number of absent for each employee or each transaction item. Then since you know the present, absent, null value, etc., you want to calculate, because in your employee sheet you have not only you have to enter the total present, total absent, and total working days. Total working days is also calculated as by using the count variable, and not and also null value. You have to enter these two values now, percentage and feedback. For percentage, there is a equation given also. You can check this equation here. Close this, don't see. Okay, so already I have told you the equation. Yeah, this is the equation that you have to follow. That is, for present, equation is present days into 100 divided by total working days. So you have to calculate the percentage value here. For that, you can assign percentage value. You can say assign uh, percentage. Okay, for that you specify percentage. Then you have to give the value. What is the value? Value should be present into 100, present into 100 divided by total working days. Here our total working days is count itself. Okay, since we know that first we are initializing the count to get the total number of collections in a queue item, then we are reducing it so that it should be equal to the total number of working days. So we have assigned the percentage also here. So to do this, we have calculated what percentage here. Okay, so this is the one, or in this, so we have completed the analyzing transaction item here sequence completely. So what we have done here is we have it is a first stage in the process state where this our transaction item is going through. First, all the present, absent, null values are being initialized, and after that we are calculating the total number of working days through this count variable by using the count of total number of element in the transaction item dot specific content dictionary. And after that we are looping through each element in this transaction item dot specific content dictionary, and then we are calculating the total number of present, absent, and null value for each employee. Okay, and then after this, since we have our output of this will give the total number of present, absent, and null value of each employee, then from that you can able to calculate the percentage, which is equal to present days into 100 divided by total working days. Okay, so that is what we have done in this sequence. So next sequence, what we have to do here is, since we have calculated all the information here except feedback, the feedback is calculated based on the percentage, value of percentage that I will do in the next sequence. So in next sequence we have got all the values, and these values has to be inputted into this Excel sheet. So that is what we are going to do in the next sequence. So we can see that. So just drag another sequence. Okay, so give it a name. Let's say inputting attendance details into Excel sheet. Okay, So for that, since you are using many Excel activity, like you have to use, I think, the right cell activity here. So you have to use right cell activity for total present, total absent, total working days, percentage, etc. So it is better since all many Excel activities are coming here. So you can use Excel application scope here, so that you can assign a particular single scope for all the Excel activity. So just drag this Excel application scope here, and you specify the workflow path. Since we have specified the workflow path in the Excel file itself, so you can directly specify it here to the in config dictionary. In config, give the key value. Key is Excel file. Excel file. Excel Excel file. Since the output of this in config dictionary is an object, you have to convert to string. Dot to string. Okay. So now what we have to do here? First, we have to input the value of let's say total present. Then we have to input the value of total absent, total working days, percentage, feedback, and null value columns. We can last input the feedback because feedback has to be calculated based on the percentage value. Okay. So for inputting these values, we can use right cell activity in the Excel. Uh, okay. So and before that, you want to locate because if you look here, the transaction item, for example, if you consider this transaction item, it is for the employee name E005. So you want to know for which employee actually you are actually calculated the values and you are going to input them. So it is important to know that we have to input that. For example, if you are processing the data of E005, you have to input the data into the E005 row now. For that, you have to know what is the row index of E005. For that, you can use lookup data table activity. And but before using lookup data table activity, you have to like read this Excel file or this Excel sheet and store it in the data table. Okay. For that, you have to use a read range activity here. Okay. So use, let's say, read range activity in the Excel. So you can say uh, read Excel file and give the sheet name. What is the sheet name here? You can check here. Sheet name is data 2. So give the name. Sheet name is, let's say, data 2. Okay. So after reading this, you have to store the value in a data table. For that, you create another variable called, let's say, dt. You can create a variable dt and its variable type as data table, and scope should be defined in process. So you have created a data table variable dt, and whatever data you have read here, you have to store a data table. So you store in dt. Okay. So why we are reading this data or Excel file first is because this data table is an input to our lookup data table activity, and through which our like item we want to find has to be looked up. So we can see the while we are using lookup data table activity. Now we can use lookup data table activity. So in lookup data table activity, you can specify. So what does this lookup data table activity do here is it, like in our case, like we know that if you take the example of, let's say, this queue item having E005 employees data. So after calculating total number of present, total number of absent and null value, you want to know. So then after that you want to input this into this Excel file. So into the corresponding E005 row. So there we have to know what is a row index of E005. For that, you want to use the lookup data table activity there. So, and the lookup data table activity, you have to give the input, the data table. The data table means which data table you are looking for. Here, we are looking the value in this data to Excel sheet, and this data to Excel sheet is stored in the data table called DT. So you have to give the input here, data table as DT. Now, what is the value you want to look up here? Since we know that the value you want to look up here is employee's name, so we have to specify the employee's name from the transaction items. Transaction item dot specific content. What is the collection name specified here? Collection name is name. Okay, so collection name is name here. Name. Since output of this dictionary is an object, you have to convert to string. Dot to string. Okay. Now, next is the lookup column. Means this value, this transaction item dot specific content name to string will give the employee name, and in this lookup column we have to specify on which column we want to look up this value. In our case, we want to look up in which column? In this name column. Now, so either you have three options. Either you can specify the column index or column name or column. I specify column index since we know that column index is actually 0 here for the name, so you can specify 0 here. Otherwise you can specify the column name also here. Okay, now what's the output that we require from this lookup data table activity? You want to get the row index, so you just create a variable here. So just create another variable like row index. What should be its variable type? It should be integer. Okay, so lookup data table uh, row index. Yeah. Okay, so just give it a name. Lookup employee name and find its position. That is what we are going to do through this activity here. Okay, so uh, after oh yeah, so just change the scope to process, it's better. Okay, so after finding the row index, now we can write the data into the total present, total absent and total working days using the right cell activity. For that, just drag and drop right cell activity here, right cell activity here. Drag and drop right cell activity here. So here you want to specify the sheet name. What is the sheet name? Sheet name is data 2. Just check whether it's yes, data 2. Now you want to specify the cell, which cell you want to enter. Since we want to enter a generalized format, how you can enter? So what you want to enter here? You want to enter here total number of present days of each employee. So present. If you look into this employee sheet, you can see that total present for E001 you are entering total present in B2 cell. For E02 you are entering B3 cell. For E03 E003 you are entering in B4 cell, the total present days. For E004 you are entering in B5. For E005 you are entering in B6. So you can see that in general way if you are writing, the column name is same but the row value changes. So in general format, how you can write this? I can write here directly and I can explain here. Since the column name is same, there is a column name, employee name is B here. Specify B plus row index plus 2. Row index plus 2 dot to string. Okay, why? Because if you look here in this employee sheet, this is E001. When you are looking for the value E001, its raw index will be 0. For E002, its raw index should be 1. E003, raw index should be 2. Like that. So for 0 row index, you are writing the value in the B2 cell. For first row index, you are writing in value E000. So in general way you can write like this. Okay, for example, if row index value is 0, it writes in B2 cell, that is in the that is in this for E001. So that is why we are actually specifying row index plus 2. Since row index plus 2 is integer, you have to convert to string here, so we are specifying dot to string. Okay, so the value formula, so what is the value you have to write here? Present dot to string, since present is integer. Okay, now similarly you have to write absent. Okay, so write absent, write absent, and here you have to specify the cell value to which you want to write here. So if you take the same Excel sheet, you can see for E001 the total absent is written in C2. For E002 total absent is being written in C3. For E003 total absent is being written in C4. For E04 total absent is being written in C5. And similarly for E005 total absent is being written in C6. So in general format, how you can write this is C plus row index plus 2. Okay, row index plus 2 dot to string. This is for actually same explanation that I have done in the case of present. Now what is a sheet number? Sheet name you have to specify here. Sheet name should be data 2. The value, that is absent dot to string. Okay, and yeah, now similarly you have next value you want to write here is total number of working days. So just take another right cell activity and give the sheet name as data to, give the cell value on which you want to write in a generalized format. If you look into the data table, you can see that for E001 the total working days is written as D2. For E002 total working days is being written as D3. For E003 total working days is written as D4, like that. So in general format, how you can write it like is like this: D plus row index plus 2 dot to string, row index plus 2 dot to string. Can check here. Yeah, D. Okay, so now give it a name. Let's say write working days. Now what is the value you want to input here? It is total working days. Since we know that from our previous sequence, count is our total working variable, we have actually calculated from that. So we can specify count dot to string. Okay, now after specifying total number of working days, next value you want to specify is percentage. So use right cell activity again here, and you can write here as write percentage, and you have to specify the sheet cell value on which you want to write the percentage. We know that for E001 percentage is being written at E2, for E002 percentage is written at E3, similarly for E003 percentage is being written at E4, and so on. So in general format, how you can write here is if you specify the column name, so just specify E plus row index plus 2, row index plus 2 dot to string. Okay, specify the value here, percentage. I think let me check. uh, yeah, percentage, yeah, scope is should be changed to process, otherwise we can't get retrieve the value here. Okay, so go here and to specify the values percentage dot to string. Okay, so after specifying percentage, we can specify the total null value columns, because feedback can be only inputted based on the
percentage. So null value column, so it is, let's say, gth column. So we can specify, check whether, oh, you don't have specify the sheet name, specify the sheet name also here as data 2. Okay. Yeah, it's correct. Now in right cell just specify this, you want to specify total null values, so total null values. Okay, now specify the sheet name. Sheet name should be, let's say, data 2, and the cell number or the cell number where you want to enter the data. So if you consider null value column here, the E001 data is being written as G2, E002 data is being written as G3, and so on. So in generalized format, how you can write here is, just write G plus row index plus 2 dot to string, row index plus 2 dot to string. Now you have to specify the null value. What is the null value? Null value dot to string. Okay, so you have to specify all the values. Next value you want to specify here is feedback. So for feedback, if you look here, I have already given the calculation how to calculate the feedback. If percentage is greater than less than 70, feedback should be average. If percentage is between 70 and 85, including the limit values, means including 70 and 85, feedback should be good. If percentage is greater than 85, feedback should be excellent. So you have to provide these three conditions, but you can't use a switch activity here. Okay, so instead you can use if activity. So how you can specify these three conditions in if activity? You have to use a nested if condition. So how you can specify that is, first broadly classify your condition. Since we know that first condition is if percentage is less than 70. So you can break your condition into two broad part. First, if percentage is less than 70, and second, percentage greater than 70. And within the percentage greater than 70, make into two parts. That is, if percentage is greater than 85, second, if percentage is between 70 and 85. So thus you can specify the feedback. I will tell you how to do that. So let us do that. Just drag if activity here. So if, okay. So now that is your inputting feedback. Give it a name. Inputting feedback. So what is the condition? First condition I provide is percentage less than 70. If percentage less than 70 is there, what is the condition? Feedback should be average. So give it like that. Let's say give right cell activity. Okay, so specify the, since all these are coming under Excel application scope, you don't have to provide the file path again. That's one advantage of doing here. Okay, now data 2. Now you have to specify the cell number. You take the employee data sheet feedback. E001 feedback is returning F2, E002 feedback is returning F3, if E003 feedback is returning F4, and so on. So in general format, how you can write here is, let's say you can write here F plus row index plus 2, plus row index plus 2 dot to string. Okay, now you have to specify the value. What should be the value of feedback? If percentage is less than 70, feedback should be average. Specify here it as, let's say, average. Okay, so write, you can give it a name, say average. Okay, and since percentage is less than 70, then if this condition is true, we are writing average. If percentage is not greater is not less than 70, means if percentage is greater than 70, that comes in else condition. Within that else condition, you can make if condition to split into two condition itself. You can specify here. Means If percentage is less than 70, then we can write feedback as average. If percentage is not less than 70, implies if percentage is greater than 70 in else condition. And if percentage is greater than 70, we have two conditions. If percentage is greater than 85, second, if percentage is between 70 and 85. So you can specify percentage greater than, let's say, 85. Then you have to use write cell activity. What you have to write? If percentage is greater than 85, you have to specify feedback as excellent. So data to the feedback should be so you have to specify the cell value f plus, check it again, yeah, feedback f plus row index plus 2. So give it as, let's say, f plus row index plus 2. Since row index plus 2 is an integer, I have to convert to string, dot to string, f plus row index plus 2. So here you can write what, excellent. So you just write here as, let's say, excellent. Okay, so just check here, write average. Okay, now next, if percentage is not greater than 85, in else condition, what does it imply? Percentage less than 85, but percentage should be greater than 70 because it is under this condition. So what you have to specify here? You have to specify uh, feedback as what? If percentage is between 70 and 85 including limit value, first feedback should be good. You have to specify here it as good. I hope you understand this condition. Right, good. So specify the sheet name, data 2, and the cell value. We can see cell value as what is cell value? F plus row index plus 2. Row index plus 2 dot to string. Okay, now the value it is provided as good. Okay, so just check it. So we have completed every section, I think. So this sequence of inputting data into the Excel column, we also have done it here. So before so try to check it whether there is any error or not, so that we can run it very smoothly. So click on average. Yeah, everything is correct. And null values, data 2, and absent percent row index, correct. Okay, so it's correct, everything is correct. So actually I will tell you in a summarized way what we have done here. Okay, so let me close this. Okay, so what we have done here is actually we have obtained the values of present, absent, null values, percentage from above sequence, that is analyzing transaction data sequence. From that you are inputting the data into sheet, so that first you want to know what is the raw index of the employee's name where you are inputting the data. For that you are using lookup data table activity and you are getting the raw index. Using that raw index, you are writing the data present, absent, working days, percentage, and null values, etc. And also feedback condition. Feedback condition is done based on the certain condition provided by the percentage. That is, if percentage is less than 70, we have to write as average. But if percentage is greater than 85, you have to provide the condition as or feedback as excellent. If percentage is between 70 and 85, that is being returned here, we should write condition as, or feedback condition as good. So this is what we have write in this inputting feedback section. And I think we have completed this field also, this sequence also, inputting the attendance details. You look here, so just check everything is correct before leaving this process section. Okay, so I have forgotten one thing also here, that is we are specifying the percentage as what type variable, double. Sometimes it may have very long decimal values. We want to limit the number of decimal values to 2 decimal places. For that, we can use another code here. Okay, just use assign activity here and assign percentage. Assign here the value as like this, math dot round, specify percentage, comma, how much values we want to round these decimal places to 2 decimal values. That is what we have written here. So we can say assign 2 decimal places. Otherwise, it will be a big decimal place that will be very bored to see. So this section, I think it is okay. Hope it is everything is okay, fine. So let's check whether there is any. Let's check with the. Yeah, everything is correct. So we can save this process workflow and go back. So we have completed the process workflow also. So what we have done here is, since there is no applications to open here, we have skipped the initialization state, and from the get transaction data state, using the get transaction item activity, we have obtained each transaction item and we have processed each transaction item here. So next is we want to end the process at last. Since in the end process close all application is there, since there is no applications were opened or in no browsers were open in this initialization state, we don't have to use this close all application. Any active, like we don't have to close any application here. So we can leave this close all application. We can skip it. Okay. Next is we want to kill the process. Mostly, what's the process that we have used here? We use an Excel process. So we want to kill it. For killing that process, we can use kill all process file. So in kill all process file, we'll actually killing the process so that automation can start in a clean state. For example, if your Excel file that if the any Excel file is open, this kill process before the automation start, before the initialization start, will close all the required applications. And if this our system actually face any system exception, during that time this kill all process may forcefully close the application, where the close all application cannot do it. So that is the use of kill process. For that, use kill process activity and give it as a name, kill process Excel. So what is the process that is we are going to kill here? Excel. So give the process name as the double quotation mark as Excel. Okay. Just save it, go back, can't see. Okay. So just verify with the config file also, employee.xlx employee constant, everything is correct. Okay, so I think we can close all this for running the workflow. I hope everything will run fine. And okay, so just close this. So check your connection with this orchestrator is okay before starting. Yeah, it's connected. So I think we have completed our performer workflow section also. So just run it to see what happens. I hope everything's fine. The process being running successfully, I think. So I think you can just go here. Yeah, every process is being run successfully. Like for transaction number 1, transaction number 2, transaction number 3, 4, 5, everything has been run successfully. And to check that, you can go to queue, or otherwise you can check here also from this employees file. You can either show the result. I think, yeah, you can see, yeah, everything is run fine. You can see, you can already the total number of percentage for employee E001, absent is 0, total working days, percentage, feedback based on the percentage condition and null value. Also for E002, E003, all values has been inputted here. And you can see that the decimal values are two places here because we have provided condition for that math dot round percentage comma 2, so that that percentage resting within two decimal places. Okay, so now if you go to the queue item here for checking the status, just go to platform.uipath.com. Earlier I show you actually there are some authentication error. uh, Now I think it is okay. Okay, let's open it. It's working. Yeah, now you can see queue here. So you can see the data which has been successful. Every all data have been successful. Yeah, you can see the status. Earlier you can see that the status was new, but when these queue items were processed, they become transaction, and the status of each transaction has been changed to successful. Since all this has been occurred successfully. Why this actually happened, I told you in earlier my tutorials, in my tutorial to 1.1, why this transaction status changes. It is like due to this, through this set transaction status file. You can see that after process transaction, our each transaction item to check or to update the transaction status to the queue item, we are actually going to this set transaction workflow to check whether our transaction is successful or it has been failed due to system exception or it has been failed due to business exception. That is, that checking is or that assigning is being done here, that I have already told in my earlier tutorials. Hope you have looked into it. So from this, what we can conclude here is that we have able to run our attendance performer workflow successfully. Not only attendance performer, we have run our dispatch also successfully. So in this tutorial, what we have understand is how we can do this process of attendance calculation using queues. In my earlier previous video, that is tutorial 3.0, I have explained the same process to be done by using data table method. But now in this method, I have done using queues by using creating two workflows by like dispatcher workflow where it take the data from the Excel file and transfer to the queue, and the perform workflow which retrieve the data from the queue and process it and then input into the Excel file corresponding to each employee roles. So that is what we have done altogether here. Hope you have understand every concept behind it, and if you have any doubts regarding this, you can comment in the comment box. I can reach out to that. So if you like this video, please subscribe for more updates. Thank you.